You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day. Oh, yeah.
Everybody, welcome back to the Bro Down Podcast. I'm Tim Fulton,
I'm Andy Smith.
and this is What Do You Got?
What do you have?
And we're going to see what Andy Smith has this time around.
I
And we
love it.
have vaping versus smoking.
The reason why I bring this up might shock you. It won't. I was looking through MSN.com because that's the only news site I know of, because it used to be the homepage for Windows when you automatically got Internet Explorer.
Andy's living in 1995. Continue.
Some things I'm way advanced. When it comes to that, I'm not. So I just was looking through it, and I've been hearing all this shit about like vaping is causing this, and vaping is causing popcorn lung, and vaping, and this, that, and the other thing. It's vaping so dangerous, this and that. And I'm like, oh shit, like that sucks, because I know a lot of kids are getting into vaping and all that stuff, or like choosing it over cigarettes. And I'm like, wait a second. We know that cigarettes do way worse things to you, but no one gives a fuck.
Well,
No one gives a fuck. We're not talking about cigarettes. Vaping. We got to ban vaping. We got to ban it. It's already banned in schools. You haven't had a thing on the market for the last 200, 300 years, cigarettes, which clearly have no benefits. Zero benefits. Stress relief, maybe. But that's not a good one. Like for the trade-off.
no, and they say it actually, it not to interrupt you, but it actually generates stress as well.
Yeah.
So if you're a habitual smoker, the time between cigarettes
Causes jitters and
it
all that.
causes stress.
Yeah.
And if you don't get that cigarette, you become stressed out. So eventually it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, you feel a sudden
Well, then
sense
I've been
of
corrected. It has no benefits.
Yeah.
None that I know of. So why the fuck, if they're talking about banning, just ban fucking cigarettes and tobacco.
Well, I'm a libertarian at heart. I don't agree with banning anything.
No, but
We're adults here.
if we're what I'm saying is,
I
if
see- I
you
see what-
are
I see what
gonna
you're saying, yeah.
hold the flag of ban vaping, then what the fuck? Like, you just skip over cigarettes and go right to vaping? The
Yeah,
shit that might be bad?
Which is a shame, because I know a lot of people who, and I won't name names, but I do know a lot of people who have switched from smoking to vaping.
Yes.
Which, again, people were saying, to be fair with vaping, and I agree, it shouldn't be banned, but people are saying you don't know what's wrong with it yet. There hasn't been any long-term study, right?
Yeah.
This current generation is the long-term study. So who knows, 20 years from now, we might find out, oh, turns out vaping does fuck with your lungs.
Yeah.
Pretty horrendously.
Yeah.
We don't know yet, but we do know that smoking absolutely does 1,000 miserable things to you, right? And when it comes to smoking, there's been studies done that the tobacco is addictive too, but so is the oral fixation.
Yes.
People get addicted to putting something to their mouth.
That's how my grandfather quit.
What do you mean?
He started smoking when he was like 12 years old.
Okay.
And me and my cousin would sit at his counter every day when we were kids, and we would make non-smoking signs. He smoked Marlboro Reds, like a pack or two a day, for 60 years. And in his mid-70s, he was like, he never went to the hospital once. Broke his neck in a car accident in like the 50s.
Okay.
Other than that, nothing. Smoked and drank like a fish and nothing. But he smoked Reds, and he quit by putting coffee stirrers in his mouth.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because he needed something to hold and like flick and actually like go and back and forth. And it basically was enough till he got over the nicotine aspect to just be like, okay, this is good. And then after that, he didn't even need the coffee stirrers anymore.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people who are trying to quit smoking will switch to like they'll do lollipops because it seems stupid, but at the same time, it's something for you to. It's like something for your mouth to do. You're just so used to using your mouth.
Yeah.
I know that's weird to say, but But the vaping does work with that. And I know that's a lot of people do the pill and do the patch or whatnot, but they lose that mouth sensation. They miss the physical action.
It's also a habit thing too. Like people in the morning, they want their coffee and cigarette.
Yeah.
They want their, you know what I mean? So it's a natural, like,
not naming names, but I know someone who will, when they pass like a mile marker, will smoke. Yeah. Because they're so used to lighting up at that specific spot that it's just a thing.
I forget who's telling the story. I don't even know if it's somebody I knew or somebody I heard somewhere. It was a long time ago, but they said that either their father or something, they hadn't smoked in like 20 years. And they got in the car to go for a drive to get something, whatever. And the guy got in the car and he just started patting his chest pockets. And then he started patting his pockets. And he didn't start the car, and his son was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh shit!" He's like, "I'm looking for my cigarettes." He's like, "You haven't smoked in 20 years." He's like, "I know." Like, I guess just something must have struck him as like old school. Like when he got in the car, it was like, "Oh, like good time. I'm gonna go for a drive or something." Yeah. And he just immediately reached for a cigarette.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Muscle memory.
I think that's a bigger thing too when it comes to the addiction, is you got to find another little addiction to get over your addiction.
Yeah, it's
coffee, whatever. But
whatever your addiction is.
I just found it funny that like people are always like everyone's jumping on this ban vaping, but smoking is still the thing.
Yeah, you know what? I if we're doing a direct comparison, vaping is obviously, in my opinion, on the surface level, better than smoking. I will say that it is being the smoking of the next generation. So a lot of people are using vaping to quit smoking, but you do have a lot of younger people being introduced to tobacco through nicotine, at least through vaping.
You know what I didn't think of, which is probably a good point though, is the thing that they didn't do with pills, and this is a good thing to put out there, is that part of the thing with vaping that they've sold it on is that it's safe.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how people get addicted to painkillers, is because they think because a doctor's giving it to them, it's safe. So I'm a little bit less against it now that I think about that. At least putting it out there like, hey, this isn't 100% like you get a free pass. Like there could be some consequences to this. Like don't think that.
And there might be, like I said earlier, there might be consequences we don't know yet.
Yes.
We're all test dummies when it comes to this.
Yeah, because I remember when vaping first came out, they had that. I remember that because me and my buddy joked about it. Their advertisement said, "Is it safer than smoking?" ? Well, you tell us. It's water vapor versus tobacco smoke.
See,
they didn't say it was safer. They didn't say it was safe. They said, "Is it safer than smoking?" Well, what do you think? It's like, I don't know. You're the one supposed to tell me. So they can't come out and say that it's not harmful.
They can't. And you know what the problem is? Too much of anything is bad. Okay? We can say all day smoking is bad for you, and it 100% is. No one's ever going to argue that fact. And before I go into my little spiel, I should say I'm not a medical professional. I'm saying this from an amateur's point of view.
We don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, this is all secondhand knowledge. Don't smoke, don't vape, blah, 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 blah. Go jack off.
Too much of a good thing.
Too much of a good thing. Smoking a cigarette isn't bad for you. Smoking a pack a day is bad for you. Smoking a pack a day for 5, 10, 15, 20 years is bad for you.
Well, it increases as the usage increases.
Yeah, it's addictive, so it's way too easy to get out of control with it.
Yeah.
But smoking a cigarette is not bad for you. So you can say, it's the smoke itself that is really the bad thing. Yes, there are carcinogens in it. Yes, there's a whole bunch of nasty, gross things in it. But if you were to sit in front of a campfire 20 times a day.
Yeah, you don't want to breathe in smoke.
No, you don't want to breathe in smoke. It's bad for your lungs. It's not just the carcinogens and all that. It's the literal smoke that is hitting your lungs. Yeah. You don't want to sit in front of a campfire 20 times a day, every day, for 20 years of your life.
No.
They can say, yeah, this is water vapor, but they don't know. No one has sat in front of water vapor every day, 20 times a day.
It's not really water vapor, though.
There's other shit in there, too.
It's oil.
Yeah, see.
It's actually an oil that gets vaporized through a heating element.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think
Yeah,
the
there's, like, a
issue
little
comes from
coil
like
there.
depending on what type of oil it is and what type of like scents they use or whatever. I don't know any of that shit though.
Yeah.
One thing I will say on a closing note is that I was a huge fan of Dennis Leary's comedy growing up before I found out he like stole a lot of his shit. But one of the things he was talking about was that he had this whole bit about loving to smoke. Like, I love to smoke. I'm never going to stop smoking. And he was like, this, I forget what politician he was talking about. He's like, this jerk off wants to make the warnings on the pack bigger. And he's like that's going to stop people. He's like, you could literally call the cigarettes tumors and people will be lining up around the streets to smoke them. And it makes me laugh because in Australia, that's exactly what the packs are. When you sell cigarettes in Australia, the entire pack has to be blacked out. You can't have the name of the cigarette on it, I don't think, anywhere. And they all have pictures of people that have had cancer on them.
They wanted to do something like that in America,
And
too.
people still fucking buy them.
It's addiction.
What the fuck?
When you're addicted to something, you lose all self of rationale. Every smoker, to quit smoking, all they have to do is just not do it.
Yeah.
But that is purposely trivializing.
I think
quitting.
it's more of, I think it's also too that there's a gamble. Like my grandfather, he smoked for 60 years. He didn't cough.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
And there's always that thing where it's like slow boiling a frog. You don't see there was like, if someone was like, okay, you know, you're going to have to do this, but we're, you know, it's going to be immediate pain right now. You're like, nah, I don't fucking do that. But if someone's like, yeah, maybe in 30 years you're going to have a problem. They're like, yeah, all right. Okay.
Meh, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck it.
All right, so we threw a lot of science at you guys. Tell us in the
science.
A lot of bro science. Tell us in the comments how awfully wrong we are. Have fun with it. Also, go to brodownpro.com and buy some of our shit.
We don't have any smoking shirts.
We don't.
No, we don't.
If you haven't noticed, we don't condone smoking. So
No, not at all.
All right, peace out, everybody.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day.